The Republican presidential candidates didn't have Donald Trump to attack in last week's debate, but they went after each other over immigration. Tensions between Ted Cruz and Marco Rubio erupted over a dispute over amnesty in the second half of the debate. Rubio accused Cruz of falsely describing himself as the most conservative candidate and changing his position on immigration. That's our topic this half hour. We want to hear from you on our Fox 26 Facebook page. We've got the topics listed for you at the top so you can weigh in. You can also weigh in on Twitter. Be sure to use the hashtag Fox26forlife. Joining us in our newsroom live is our roundup panel led by our senior legal analyst Chris Tritico, our news analyst Mustafa Tamiz, and public policy analyst Jackie Bally. Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
Well, you know, the Texas senator then flipped the accusation on to Rubio, saying, you know, that he vowed to fight against amnesty but changed his position. So who's flip-flopping here?
Well, I think there's been a little bit of flip-flopping or molding of opinions, if you will, from all of them, quite frankly. Ted Cruz did file a bill that would have granted or would have been a pathway to legalization, and he now says he filed that as a poison pill to kill the Gang of Eight bill that Marco Rubio was supporting, which would have also granted a pathway to citizenship. And so everybody's been molding their position. I find it a little inconsistent that two people who benefited from an open immigration policy for Cuba to be now saying we need to stop legal immigration and not allow more immigration into the United States. Mustafa Tamiz.
Well, I think Marco Rubio had a great line. He said to Senator Cruz, stop trying to out-Trump Trump. And I think they're all out trying to beat Trump in a way on the immigration policy, and they can't because his position is so far extreme that even they can't match it. And that's the trouble they're having. There's a divide in the Republican Party of trying to satisfy the base versus winning a general election. And right now, all of their positions are not in a place where they can win a general election.
Isn't Ted Cruz, who you work for, you're helping in his campaign, but didn't Ted Cruz flip-flop a little bit? He filed a bill that would have allowed a pathway to legalization. He argued for that bill. There's plenty of footage of him arguing for that bill, now saying he didn't support it.
No, Ted has always been steadfast that he has wanted to secure the borders first and foremost. That has been the one thing that he's been saying from day one, and he continues to say. In the bill that you're referring to, he recommended that we increase our border patrol from 20 to 60,000, and that was the focus, and he had been focused on ever since. Marco Rubio and Ted have a lot of similarities. They're both Cuban. They're both children of immigrants. The difference between, and they're both Tea Party darlings. The difference is Rubio has come very much into the middle when it comes to this policy of immigration. Ted has been very steadfast in his policies, and he has not moved.
Ted's amendment did not have a pathway to legalization?
I didn't say that. I said Ted has always been steadfast, and he has said first and foremost, we need to secure the borders.
How is that not a flip-flop?
Look, you know, people will try to argue it back and forth, but at the end of the day, there was a point where Marco Rubio was part of the Gang of Eight and was putting together a compromise to pass immigration law, a path to citizenship. Ted Cruz did make an amendment to that bill, and his bill reflected that. So,
and he argued for it.
And he argued for it and so forth. But their challenge is the Republican base is no longer in the mainstream of American politics, and they're trying to satisfy that, and they won't because there's a Donald Trump there.
Well, I don't know how you can say that when you have a socialist who is your top contender in the Democrat Party.
Well, we'll get to that.
We'll get to that in a later.
The best way to argue something is talk about something else.
That's right.
But it's true. To talk about the facts. We're talking about the facts. Sorry, me.
Okay, let's check in on Twitter and read a couple of the tweets that are out there. Just Being Megan says, can we all drop the word amnesty, please? Not one of the Republicans is for it now. A lot of people seem to think that that word is just, you know, creating a huge roadblock and issue. And then love this from Michael Black. He says, Senator Paul, Ted, you are a liar. Cruz says, no, I'm not. Rubio, you're a liar. You are. And then Chris Christie said, you know, had that great line about, you know, you're both liars and we just need to cut the Washington. He used another word that I won't say. It wasn't a bad word, but I just won't say it.
Well, and that was a good line that Christie used. Unfortunately, Chris Christie's one of those guys down there that just can't catch on and can't start moving up. And this really is between Trump, Cruz, and Rubio in that order. And so the fight that they're having over immigration is really, and I like the first tweet that said, can we stop making amnesty a bad word? The only people who are making a bad word are the Republicans.
Well, 43% of voters, Democrat and Republicans, according to the last poll taken by Pew, do not believe in amnesty. So it's
Nobody's offering.
So it's not just a bad word like you're saying for Republicans. Only 43%, I may have misquoted, 43% of voters, Democrat and Republicans, are in favor of amnesty. Only 43. So the majority of voters, whether Democrat or Republican, are not in favor of amnesty. So the fact that Mustafa doesn't want to talk about other things going on in his party, the fact that you're always
we've got a
saying
topic
that
on
it's,
that coming up.
even though you're always saying it's Republicans, only 43% of voters want amnesty.
The last person I recall from my recollection of history to give amnesty was Ronald Reagan, the greatest Republican ever.
Yeah, and because you can't deport 11 million people into Mexico, right? What are you going to do? You're going to need 100,000 buses or something to take people away? Look, at the end of the day, as Jackie said, we can quote different polls. Majority Americans want to see some kind of pathway to citizenship. The Republican base refuses to see that.
We're out of time, but isn't it that the majority of Americans want something done, regardless of what it is? We've sat around for 7 years and done nothing on immigration.
And that's why Chris Christie was effective, because he showed why we've not been able to get through, because Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz are arguing over a small amendment.
A majority of voters want to see our borders secured. That is what almost every poll is saying. They want to see our borders secured. And going back to Ted, that is what he has been focused on from day one, securing our borders.